Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So we're going to talk about the remaining strategies, inshallah. We will cover it up today. Yesterday, we studied a few of the strategies for note completion type of questions, and today we will complete it, inshallah. So note completion type of questions, your part 4 full of note completion, part 1 full of note completion, and we are going to talk about that how you may easily manage these type of questions. So next strategy, let me teach you. Uh, Strategy number 4 for note completion. Usually you may find 1 or 2 questions on passives. There would be type of questions on passives as well. So if the questions are on passive, so how we may understand, you do understand, play, you know that passive form of might be with be verb plus third form of verb. If there is, let me add you all. Okay. Be plus third form of verb. Whenever you find any question with auxiliary plus third form of verb, like for example, is needed. So now is needed, it's present passive. Dash is needed. So you understand, clear? Now it's passive. So I'll look for clear any of the noun. So what is needed, clear? And you understand that now it's a passive form. For example, if it's about the past, so dash was required. So dash was required. You do understand now it's in passive. So usually this third form of verb, they will use synonym for it. They may use synonym. The same way needed, they can say any of the synonyms as well. If you just take example practically, Claire, from your test, so I can see a few of the questions are on passives. The first one, if you focus question number 1, dash was not allowed. Can you see? So we may have auxiliary and plus third form of verb. So dash was not allowed. So any of the nouns we look for, and this noun has to be singular, not plural. Why? Because we may find was, and it is used for singular, not for plural. So dash was not allowed. So what was not allowed? Clear? The first one. And if you just come towards the second, 20, 32, 34, 35, 36, 37, we don't find 38, but 39. Can you see 39? Was necessary. So be verb plus third form of verb, or there might be an adjective. Clear? Was necessary. So again, it's passive. Dash was necessary. So these two are based on what? These two questions are based on your passives. So sometimes examiner, he wants to test clear that do you recognize the passive structures? So if there are any passive structures, so make sure you understand that what you are looking like. For example, dash was necessary. So what was necessary? So we're looking for a noun that was necessary, and that can be singular, not noun, not plural. After this strategy, we want to talk about another, and that is called negation strategy. Negation. Now, what I mean by negation, always keep in your mind that IELTS, usually they want to give you clear weak word. It can be a weak noun or weak verb or a weak an adjective, clear? Weak adjective. So anything they want to give you, they want to provide you that would be quite weak. But with that weak word, clear, most of the time there would be a positive word. Suppose they want to write down, for example, succeed. So if you have succeed, so now the word succeed, clear, it can be what? It's positive, clear? And the opposite of succeed, that can be what? Fail. But most of the time what happens that IELTS, they want to give you a positive word with negative. How? Like the way they have written allowed. Allowed, it's positive. Word is positive, but uh, they have mentioned clear a negative word, and what is that? Not allowed. So now, allowed, not allowed. So not allowed, it means what? It gives you now negative meaning. And most of the time, students, they don't focus not. They don't focus, but they just only focus what? On the allowed. So if you don't focus, clear, not, the negation word. So you may conclude clear with low band. अगर यहाँ पे हम ये गौर करें clear, not allowed, आइल्स वाले यहाँ पे negation इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं, they use negative, but the speaker, Claire, he won't say negative. He wants to give you with hidden negation. मतलब ये यहां पे जो है नेगेटिव है, वहां पे आपके पास hidden word यूज होगा, hidden negation. Hidden negation का मतलब ये है कि if something is not allowed, इसका मतलब क्या है? That's, for example, prohibited. अब यहां पे देखिए द वर्ड प्रोहिबिटेड. प्रोहिबिटेड वर्ड तो हमने इस्तेमाल किया, अगेन इट गिव्स यू नेगेटिव मीनिंग. लेकिन इसका जो यहां पे हम वी डिडंट यूज एनी नॉट, नॉर और नेवर. बिकॉज वाई? बिकॉज इट्स अ हिडन निगेशन. इसे हम कहते हैं कि ये भी नेगेटिव है, लेकिन ये हिडन है, क्योंकि वी डोंट यूज व्हाट, वी डोंट यूज एनी नॉट. अब सवाल यह है कि जब भी आइल्स एग्जामिनर आपको नेगेटिव के साथ कोई वर्ड इस्तेमाल करे, इफ दे यूज अ वर्ड विद नेगेटिव, but speaker won't say a word with negative word, they would use a hidden negation. Suppose मैं यहां पे कह दूं कि welcome. Now word welcome is positive, so what can be the negative? Not welcome. तो सवाल में आपको not welcome यहां पे मिलेगा. But when the speaker he says he won't use any not, he is going to use hidden negation. So hidden negation for not welcome, it can be what? Rejected. He may say rejected. So now यहां पे सवाल में क्या लिखा है? वीक वर्ड, नॉट वेलकम. लेकिन वहां पे उसने काफी स्ट्रॉन्ग वर्ड इस्तेमाल कर दिया, एंड दैट इज व्हाट? रिजेक्टेड. So make sure that examiner sometimes they use what? Negatives. And when they use negatives, clear, so focus on those points. The way they have used, like in question number one, it is passive but negative. Can you see? Allowed, and they have used negative, not allowed. तो वहां पे जब स्पीकर कहेगा, so speaker is not going to say not. He is going to use hidden negation instead of that. A word, clear, a word that gives you negative meaning, but that not clear, that has to be inside that word. हम इसे कहते हैं hidden negatives. तो मेक श्योर कि इस फार्मूले को आप जानते हैं, समझ सकते हैं कि हाउ टू यूज देम. अच्छा जी. अब अगर हम क्वेश्चंस को प्रैक्टिकली लें, एंड वी विल परफॉर्म टुगेदर, क्लियर, एंड आई विल आस्क यू कि व्हाट कम्स in the blank, and we will try to use all those strategies. Let's practice together. Listening. Come in. Come in.
Era filtros na oli tayar gala bashkar gana ki osasi awa isi दरवाजे में
क्लास के मूवमेंट सब रुका उगुरो सर अच्छे संग तरीके से सही रह दिया
नहीं गिरे दिया पर
उगुरो बच्चे कम संग दगा की या शांति ठीक. Okay, let's practice. Suppose let's practice this test. Section number 4. Okay जी. Turn on your mics please, and I will ask you. और जल्दी जल्दी आप लोगों ने मुझे बताना है कि क्लियर कि क्या हमने इस्तेमाल करना है. अब सबसे पहले यहाँ पे देखिए कि जो the instructions we have, how many words are required? Only one word. And they have mentioned and or a number. And or a number. And or a number का मतलब यह है कि जवाब में, एक जवाब में नंबर और वर्ड दोनों हो सकते हैं. बिकॉज अ वर्ड रिप्रेजेंट्स a self and a number separately represents a self. तो मेक श्योर कि आप लोग इस बात को समझ रहे, ठीक है. अब यहां पे देखिए, इसके अलावा हमारे पास कुछ सब हेडिंग्स है. The first, the second subheading, and then this is the third subheading, and then it comes about the last subheading. अच्छा जी, अब हमने क्या करना है क्विकली, यहां पे द वर्ड दे हैव यूज अप्रॉक्सीमेटली। तो ये वर्ड हमारे पास, ये जो ब्लैंक है, अकॉर्डिंग टू कॉलोकेशन रूल हैज अप्रॉक्सीमेटली डैश स्पीकर्स। तो नंबर ऑफ स्पीकर्स, तो मतलब यहां पे अगर आप प्रेडिक्ट करें, इस जवाब को प्रेडिक्ट करें, तो आपके ख्याल में क्या आना चाहिए? व्हाट कैन बी योर प्रेडिक्शन?
A number.
A number.
Numbers.
Exactly, because they have written approximately dash speakers. So how many speakers? We are looking for the number, that how many speakers are there. So simply we have predicted that I'm looking for approximately how many speakers. If you just start reading the second one, has a dash that is still growing. Can you see? It's a noun, a singular noun, because they have used a. Has a dash. That is still growing. What is still growing? Something that is missing. We're looking for a word. Clear? We're looking for a word to find out, to search a word that is still growing. ठीक है, तो यहां पे क्या है? नाउन होगा, जो भी वर्ड होगा जो अभी तक मतलब वो ग्रो कर रहे, उसी चीज को हमने फाइंड आउट करने कि यहां पे हम लिखते। एंड देन इट कम्स अबाउट 23rd। अब यहां पे देखिए इसमें कौन सा रूल इस्तेमाल हुआ है?
This is
Parallelism.
Yeah,
parallel.
parallelism. So matlab already web browser
Parallel
is already
structure.
provided to us. So there are examples such as, so the first one such as web browser, and the second one, clear? Second one, and. So we are looking for and then we will find the missing word. So there are two examples. एक एग्जाम्पल ऑलरेडी प्रोवाइडेड है हमें, हमने कौन से दूसरे एग्जाम्पल को हमने फाइंड आउट करना है। And then we need to move on towards the young speakers are big users of digital technology such as। तो यहां पे हमें क्या इस यहां पे आपके प्रोडक्शन क्या हो सकते हैं कि व्हाट कैन बी द राइट आंसर? क्या आप लोग की प्रोडक्शन क्या है 34
This
में?
is equipment, like another equipment will come.
Yeah, that would be in a type that they have written what before that, such as। तो such as से आप लोग को क्या अंदाजा हो रहा है?
This is related to technology, something.
Technology name
Users.
example, clear? That's related to an example. Example related to what? Example related to technology, right? They have
Yeah.
mentioned any of the example। आप लोग की प्रोडक्शन ये होनी चाहिए कि टेक्नोलॉजी से एक एग्जाम्पल है सच एज, सो इट कैन बी एनीथिंग रिलेटेड टू टेक्नोलॉजी। फिर क्या कह रहे? आर बिकमिंग डैश, आर बिकमिंग डैश। तो यहां पे आर बिकमिंग व्हाट? आर बिकमिंग डैश वेरी क्विकली। तो वर्ड्स बिफोर एंड वर्ड्स आफ्टर, इनके साथ या शायद कि इन लोगों ने बिकमिंग के साथ मतलब इस वर्ड को लिंक किया हो, या वेरी क्विकली के साथ। सो बिकमिंग डैश वेरी क्विकली, बिकमिंग व्हाट वेरी क्विकली। सो बोथ बिकमिंग एंड वेरी क्विकली, बोथ ऑफ देम दे आर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट वर्ड्स फॉर अस। अब इसके अलावा अब यहां पे देखिए, आर हैविंग डिस्कशंस यूजिंग ओनली इंग्लिश व्हाइल दे आर इन द डैश एट स्कूल। अच्छा जी, अब यहां पे आपको क्लियर है कि व्हाट वी आर लुकिंग फॉर, वी आर लुकिंग फॉर एनी नेम ऑफ द प्लेस। और ये प्लेस कहां पे होगा? स्कूल में ना?
At school.
Because they have written here, they are in the dash, they are in the classroom at the school, they are in the clear kitchen, they are in the
The play
office.
area.
So any name clear related to any place name and inside the school, they will name it. Are better able, can you see? They will use this one, clear? Are better able, better positive है, are better able to identify the content of a, again we are looking for what? For a noun, content of a dish in English, then clear Icelandic. So they have compared, they have used what? They have used clear comparison. So are better able to identify the content of a dish in English than this. English में ये content पैदा करना, English better able to identify the content of what in English. So that's what we need to find out any of the nouns. Then it comes about 38. Write very little and this because of the small number of speakers and because of how complicated it's. How complicated it's. So now they mention what? 2 points. The first point, because they have given you reasons. So what is the first reason? because of the number of speakers and because of how complicated its dish. So when it comes, you do understand. Yesterday I've told you, Claire, it's a possessive adjective. So we are looking
Noun.
for a noun. Excellent. So we look for the noun. We will write noun. Then it comes about the next one. They have written is worried. Claire, worried that young Icelanders may lose. It's negation. Can you see lose? Again, they have written what? As there. So now it's possessive adjective. So we are looking for what? We look for a
Noun.
noun. Again, noun. Lose there. So anything Icelanders can lose. It's negative. Is worried about the consequences of children not being. Can you see? It's a negation. Whenever there is negation, either there's hidden negation or negative. So focus on that word. Clear? So they have written consequences of the children not being dash and either Icelandic or in English. Okay. So these two are languages, right? So they are children are not being what? Children are not being dash in both languages. So let's see. Well, I'm going to start it from the beginning. First of all, number your page from 1 to 10. अपने पेज को 1 to 10 से आप पहले वो कर ले, देन आई विल सबसे पहले आप लोगों ने खुद करना है, ठीक है? राइट नाउ यू विल परफॉर्म इट बाय योर ओन, फिर उसके बाद देन आई विल हेल्प यू आउट. जल्दी करें, 1 से 10 तक पेज नंबर दे दे, उस पर आप लोगों ने लिखना है कि आउट ऑफ 10 हाउ मेनी यू मे करेक्ट योर आंसर्स. आर यू रेडी नाउ?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start.
Part 4. You will hear a lecturer on a languages course talking about the impact of digital technology on Icelandic, the native language of Iceland. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Right, everyone, let's make a start. Over the past few sessions, we've been considering the reasons why some world languages are in decline. And today I'm going to introduce another factor that affects languages and the speakers of those languages, and that's technology, and in particular, digital technology. In order to illustrate its effect, I'm going to focus on the Icelandic language, which is spoken by around 321,000 people, most of whom live in Iceland, an island in the North Atlantic Ocean. The problem for this language is not the number of speakers, even though this number is small, nor is it about losing words to other languages, such as English. In fact, the vocabulary of Icelandic is continually increasing, because when speakers need a new word for something, they tend to create one, rather than borrowing from another language. All this makes Icelandic quite a special language. It's changed very little in the past millennium, yet it can handle 21st century concepts related to the use of computers and digital technology. Take, for example, the word for web browser. This is vafri in Icelandic, which comes from the verb to wander. I can't think of a more appropriate term because that's exactly what you do mentally when you browse the internet. Then there's an Icelandic word for podcast, which is too hard to pronounce, and so on. Icelandic, then, is alive and growing, and it's a big but, young Icelanders spend a great deal of time in the digital world, and this world is predominantly English. Think about smartphones. They didn't even exist until comparatively recently, but today, young people use them all the time to read books, watch TV or films, play games, listen to music, and so on. Obviously, this is a good thing in many respects because it promotes their bilingual skills. But the extent of the influence of English in the virtual world is staggering, and it's all happening really fast. For their parents and grandparents, the change is less concerning because they already have their native speaker skills in Icelandic. But for young speakers, well, the outcome is a little troubling. For example, teachers have found that playground conversations in Icelandic secondary schools can be conducted entirely in English, while teachers of much younger children have reported situations where their classes find it easier to say what is in a picture using English rather than Icelandic. The very real and worrying consequence of all this is that the young generation in Iceland is at risk of losing its mother tongue. Of course, this is happening to other European languages too. But while internet companies might be willing to offer, say, French options in their systems, it's much harder for them to justify the expense of doing the same for a language that has a population the size of a French town, such as Nice. The other drawback of Icelandic is the grammar, which is significantly more complex than in most languages. At the moment, the tech giants are simply not interested in tackling this. So, what is the Icelandic government doing about this? Well, large sums of money are being allocated to a language technology fund that it is hoped will lead to the development of Icelandic-sourced apps and other social media and digital systems. But clearly this is going to be an uphill struggle. On the positive side, they know that Icelandic is still the official language of education and government. It has survived for well over 1,000 years, and the experts predict that its future in this nation-state is sound and will continue to be so. However, there's no doubt that it's becoming an inevitable second choice in young people's lives. This raises important questions. When you consider how much of the past is tied up in a language, will young Icelanders lose their sense of their own identity? Another issue that concerns the government of Iceland is this. If children are learning two languages through different routes, neither of which they are fully fluent in, will they be able to express themselves properly?
Okay,
But
so now let me ask you, was it easy or difficult?
It was difficult.
Difficult, sir.
It
Sir, a
was
bit
difficult. And please,
Yes, sir.
when we perform practice, so keep your mics mute, clear? Even like if you don't keep it, or एक तो आप खामोश जगह पे बैठा करे कि तो disturb ना हो classes. See, let's perform it together, okay? Let me play it again.
Lecturer on a languages course talking about the impact of digital technology on Icelandic.
Can you hear it?
Native language of Iceland.
Yeah.
First,
Yes, sir.
have some
Yes, sir.
time to look at questions 31 to 40. Part 4. You will 1 to 40.
Okay, let me play it there, that it should be clear, because for mobile phone it won't be that
Part
much.
4. On I. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Right, everyone. Let's make a start. Over the past few sessions, we've been considering the reasons why some world languages are in decline. And today I'm going to introduce another factor that affects languages and the speakers of those languages, and that's technology. And in particular, digital technology.
So it's talk digital technology.
I'm going to focus on the Icelandic language, which is spoken by around 321,000 people.
So
Most of whom
they
live
said
in Iceland.
approximately, so she said clear by around. Three, clear. What was that?
33.
Okay. So the figure was right?
Yes, sir.
321,000. Yeah.
321,000.
Exactly.
Yes,
So
sir.
you can say this is the right option. Now we want to move to towards the second part now. Day has a dash that is still growing.
An island in the North Atlantic Ocean.
So now, first of all, like most of the time, students, look, this is the title. So rest of the options, they have connected with this title. Like the Icelandic language has a dash. This language has a dash. So this language has approximately this much speakers. So always focus the title and the title, and then you can connect. Like the Icelandic language has not changed, or the Icelandic language has its own words. So you need to connect with the title, rest of them, okay? So let's see.
The problem for this language is not the number of speakers.
Okay, so the problem for this language is not the number of speakers.
Even though this number is small.
Even though
What's it about
the number is small.
Losing words to other languages, such as English. In fact, the vocabulary of Icelandic is continually increasing.
So what is continuingly increasing? The vocabulary is continually increasing. Clear? So we can write vocabulary. Vocabulary is increasing. So if vocabulary is increasing means what? Still growing. So vocabulary is still growing. So vocabulary is still growing means is increasing. Then the next.
Because when speakers need a new word for something, they tend to create one rather than borrowing from another language. All this makes Icelandic quite a special language. It's changed very little in the past millennium.
Okay, so it changed very little. So they say it changed very little. So it has not changed. It changed very little. Do you know they have written not change? And I told you if you may find not negatives, so they can say hidden negatives. Clear? It has changed. Clear? Little. So not very little. So this is how like they can change the words, but has its own words for computer based concepts such as web, and the next part we need to find out. Let me play it.
The use of computers and digital technology. Take, for example, the word for web browser.
Okay, the first one.
This is vafri in Icelandic, which comes from the verb to wander. I can't think of a more appropriate term because that's exactly what you do mentally when you browse the internet.
Okay, so now they talked about web browser, but they haven't clear shift towards the another idea. So they kept talking about only the web browser. अब wait करे कि end कब कहता है ये?
Then there's an Icelandic.
Then can you see? Then there is. Then there is. तो मतलब ये आप idea switch हो रहा है. So now then we will realize के what can be the next name.
Word for podcast.
Podcast. So the second thing they say, and then there is another word for podcast. So the right answer can be what? Dono nouns hai, web browser and podcast. So both are nouns, and we understand now this can be the right answer. Okay, let me play from the mobile phone because वहां पे तो नजर नहीं आएगा.
Really fast. For their parents and grandparents, the change is less concerning because they already have their native great deal of time in the digital world, and this world is predominantly English. Think about smartphones. They didn't even exist until comparatively recent. This makes Icelandic quite a special language. It's changed very little in the past millennium, yet it can handle 21st century concepts related to the use of computers and digital technology. Take, for example, the word for web browser.
Web browser.
This is vafri in
This.
Icelandic.
They talked about this.
To wander. I can't think of a more appropriate term because that's exactly what you do mentally when you browse the internet. Then there's an Icelandic word for podcast, which is too hard to pronounce. And so on.
Did you see? Podcast. And now they will move to the young speakers.
Icelandic then is alive and growing, and it's a big but. Young Icelanders spend a
Did you hear? Young Icelanders. So young Icelanders means what? Young speakers.
great deal of time in the digital world.
In the digital world. So now see?
And this world is predominantly English. about smartphones.
Think about smartphones. So think about smartphones means what? That's an example they have given you. Think about smartphones. So smartphones, clear, are the example of digital technology. So that's why we can write down, and it has to be plural, such as smartphones. Smartphones.
They didn't even exist until comparatively recently. But today, young people use them all the time to read books.
So are big users. So young people, they use clear all the time. If they use all the time means what? They are big users of digital technology, such as what? Smartphones.
Watch TV or films, play games, listen to music, and so on. Obviously, this is a good thing in many respects because it promotes their bilingual skills.
So it promotes what? It promotes their bilingual skills. So if the technology clear they're using, if they're using, so they promote bilingual skills. So are becoming bilingual very quickly. Bilingual, UAGUAL, bilingual, very quickly, and are having discussion using only English while they are in the dash at school. So which place at school?
The influence of English in the virtual world is staggering, and it's all happening really fast. For their parents and grandparents, the change is less concerning because they already have their native speaker skills in Icelandic. But for young speakers, well, the outcome is a little troubling. For example, teachers have found that playground conversations in Icelandic secondary schools can be conducted entirely in English.
So their discussion clear entirely can be conducted entirely in what? In English. Where in school? In playground. Playground, and playground at school. So that the conversation clear that this conversation is entirely in English. Where? At school and the playground.
English. While teachers of much younger children have reported situations where their classes find it easier to say what is in a picture using English rather than Icelandic.
What is in a picture? Clear? Rather than Iceland. So what is in a picture in English? Rather than, they have used what? Comparison. Rather than in Icelandic language. So we can say picture. What is in the picture? Let me repeat it again, then you will understand.
Of course, this is happening to other European languages too. But while internet companies might be willing to offer, say, French options in their systems, it's much harder for them to justify the expense of doing the same for a language that has a population the size of a French town, such as Nice. The other drawback of Icelandic is the grammar, which is significantly more...
Okay, wait, let me take it.
Nice. The other drawback skills in Icelandic. But for young speakers, well, the outcome is a little troubling. For example, teachers have found that playground conversations in Icelandic secondary schools can be conducted entirely in English.
Entirely in English mean only in English.
Reported situations where their classes find it easier to say what is in a picture using English rather than Icelandic.
So they can find better in English.
Consequence of all this is that the young generation in Iceland is at risk of losing its mother tongue.
Okay, after this.
Of course, this is happening to other European languages too. But while internet companies might be willing to offer, say,
internet companies
systems, it's much harder for them to justify the expense of doing the same for a language that has a population the size of a French town, such as Nice.
Okay, so now they have number one, the number of speakers are less, and the other drawback. So one is this, that the small number of speakers, and the second, another drawback. So another, how complicated is dash?
Is the grammar.
So the another complication is what? Is the grammar. So it's grammar. How complicated its grammar is.
Significant significantly more complex than in most languages.
So it's more complex. So grammar is more complex.